Have you ever felt like you're doing everything right? You're eating regularly, you are trying your best, you have done everything that claims to help you lose weight or gain weight, and yet nothing is working and you feel tired on top of that. Your body is heavy, your mind is foggy, you crave sugar, and the most frustrating part is you don't even know why. From the outside, everything looks fine, but from the inside, something is not transforming. And in traditional Chinese medicine, if this happens consistently, we don't just ask, how do we boost our energy? How do we gain it or lose it? We ask, what is failing to transform? And very often, it always begins with the spleen. Healing is like tending a garden, and in every video, we water the roots. Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Amy, a traditional Chinese medicine doctor, and today's wisdom comes from the heart of TCM. In our last episode, we explored our liver, aka river, the system that governs movement. And today, we are moving on to something even more fundamental, the soil. Now, this is where traditional Chinese medicine becomes very interesting because we say, 脾为后天之本. The spleen is the foundation of postnatal life, aka the nurture. This means that everything you become after you are born depends on the spleen. The kidney gives you your blueprint. The spleen determines how well you live out that blueprint. So your nurture. And this is where it becomes very powerful. Because unlike your genetics, your spleen is something that you can influence every single day. Now let's backtrack a little. If the liver is your river, then the spleen is the soil. And soil has one job, to transform nutrients into life. If the soil is rich, everything grows. If the soil is weak, even the best seeds struggle. So it's not just about what you give your body, it's about whether if your body can use what you give it. So what does the spleen actually do? Because when people hear the word spleen, they think of the anatomical organ, but in Chinese medicine, it's far bigger than that. It is an entire transformation system. So the spleen governs transformation and transportation. It takes what you eat and turns it into qi and blood, then it distributes it throughout your body. It also manages fluids, preventing accumulation. And importantly, it keeps things where they belong, including keeping the blood within the vessels. When the spleen is strong, everything is processed, distributed, and contained. When it is weak, transformation slows, fluids accumulate, and the system becomes inefficient. And when this transformation weakens, life starts feeling heavier, not dramatically, but subtly. You wake up tired, you eat and then you feel sleepy after, your body feels sluggish, your thoughts feel foggy, and over time you stop feeling like yourself. In real life, spleen deficiency can look like fatigue after eating, bloating easily, brain fog, loose stool, craving sugar, a heavy body sensation, difficulty focusing, and a tendency to overthink. This is simply not a matter of effort. This is a matter of transformation. And the interesting thing is, the body doesn't hide this from us. It often shows externally of what's happening internally. One of the classic examples in TCM is our complexion. In Chinese medicine, the spleen reflects on our face. When spleen transformation is strong, the face looks nourished, bright, and alive. But when the spleen is weak, the complexion may start becoming like dull yellow color, tired, or lacking vibrancy. And this is not necessarily about skincare. It is often about nourishment that is not reaching to our body. Therefore, it is reflected onto the surface. Because in TCM, the face is not separate from our digestion. What you see externally is often a reflection of how well the body is transforming internally. This is why someone can eat regularly, use skincare, sleep enough, and still look exhausted. Because the issue is not the intake, it is the transformation. And this connection goes deeper than digestion alone, because the spleen is also deeply affected by the mind. There is a classical concept, 思伤脾. Overthinking damages the spleen. And honestly, this is incredibly common today. When you think excessively, your digestion slows down. appetite becomes irregular, and bloating increases. Have you ever noticed that when you are stressed, your stomach feels off? Or when you've been working or studying intensely, you suddenly crave something sweet? That is not random. That is the spleen being affected in real time. And once the transformation starts slowing down, another problem begins to appear: dampness. And this is one of the most important concepts to understand in modern health. Dampness is not sudden, it builds slowly. It feels like heaviness, sluggishness, fogginess, and stagnation. Not because you lack energy, but your body cannot process what you are giving it. The food cannot transform. And this is where many modern symptoms begin. Many people suddenly start to realize TCM is not just a random collection of ideas. It is an entire ecosystem model. Because in traditional Chinese medicine, every Zang organ is not just a function, it is a complete system. Each one is connected to a manifestation, an opening, a season, an emotion, and even a taste. This is how we understand the body as an ecosystem. For the spleen, the element is earth. Its season, late summer. Opening is the mouth. Tissue is the muscles. Manifestation, the lips. Emotion, worry, and overthinking. And its taste profile is sweet. Now, at first glance, this may look like another random list. But when you truly understand the spleen, every single one of these connections starts to make sense. The spleen opens to the mouth, which is why appetite and taste reflect digestion. When the spleen is strong, hunger is steady and digestion feels smooth. When it is weak, appetite becomes irregular and cravings increase. The spleen governs muscles. Muscles reflect how well your body is being nourished and how efficiently it transforms energy. When the spleen is strong, the body feels energized and supported. When it is weak, your body feels heavy and fatigued. The spleen manifests on the lips. Healthy lips reflects good nourishment. Pale or dry lips reflect deficiency. The spleen is associated with worry. Excessive thinking directly disrupts digestion and weakens transformation, creating a cycle between mental strain and physical fatigue. The spleen corresponds to the sweet taste. In moderation, it nourishes. In excess, especially refined sugar, it overwhelms the system and contributes to dampness. The spleen belongs to the earth element. Earth represents grounding, stability, and nourishment. When it is strong, the body feels supported. When it is weak, obviously your body feels less stable. The spleen corresponds to the late summer, which is a season of transformation. This reflects its role in turning nourishment into usable energy. And when you bring all of this together, it becomes very clear. This is one system expressing itself in many different ways. And this is why TCM doesn't isolate symptoms. And out of all of these relationships, there's one that I want modern audiences to really understand: the connection between spleen and muscle. The spleen governs muscles, which means muscles isn't just about strength, it is about metabolism. More functional muscles means better transformation and more usable energy. This is why movement is essential. Not extreme exercise, but consistent use of the body. Between the ages of 20 to 30, building muscles is especially important. This is when you establish your baseline. After that, muscle naturally declines. If you do not build it or maintain it, your body loses its ability to efficiently transform energy. From a TCM perspective, this is the spleen weakening. And honestly, this is something I tell patients directly. People come to the clinic exhausted, underweight, and they expect the answer to be herbs, ASAP, pronto. But sometimes the first thing I actually tell them is move. Because without engaging the muscles, the system cannot improve properly. Herbs can support, acupuncture can regulate, but if the body is not being used, transformation can still not truly happen by itself. And really, I think this is one of the biggest reasons why a lot of people feel unwell today, because modern life is perfectly designed to weaken the spleen. We live in a time with abundant nutrition, and health information. Yet many people feel unwell, bloated, tired. The issue is not entirely what we eat, it is whether if we can process it. Modern life weakens the spleen through sitting, irregular eating, stress, and overthinking. And once this starts happening, the domino effect begins. Poor transformation leads to low energy. Dampness accumulates, muscles weakens, other systems begins compensating, and many modern health issues begins here. Now in clinic, not everyone presents in the same way because spleen deficiency isn't just one single presentation. It can show up through different patterns. Spleen Qi deficiency presents as fatigue, bloating, and poor appetite. Spleen Yang deficiency presents with coldness, loose stool, and low energy as well. Spleen failing to contain blood presents with bruising or excessive bleeding, such as heavy periods. And dampness accumulation presents with heaviness, sluggishness, and metabolic issues. This is why treatments must be individualized. And one of the classic signs we look for is a tongue. A classic sign of spleen deficiency is a scalloped tongue, where you can see the imprints of your teeth on your tongue. This happens because our tongue becomes slightly swollen from the poor transformation of fluid in our body. This is not for self-diagnosis, but when it's seen with fatigue, bloating, poor appetite, and heaviness, it helps identify the pattern. And this is where people become really confused, because this also explains why some people struggle to gain muscles, while others struggle with weight. If transformation is weak, nutrients aren't properly used. Muscle is not nourished, so dampness accumulates. So again, the issue is not intake, it's the transformation. Another issue that people find very puzzling is weight, because in TCM, not all weight issue comes from the same root. And this is where we sometimes talk about 脾强胃弱, strong spleen and weak stomach, or the opposite, 胃强脾弱, strong appetite but weak transformation. Let's simplify this. Some people eat very little, yet gain weight easily. Others eat a lot, yet struggle to gain weight at all. Why? Because digestion is not just about eating. It is about receiving food, processing food, transforming food, and distributing nutrients properly. The stomach is like a factory, responsible for receiving the food and breaking it down. The spleen is like the workers of the factory. They are responsible for packing and distributing the nutrients, the packages that we have in our factory, which is the stomach. So some people can have a huge factory, so a strong appetite, a very large storage system. So because the storage system is empty, you want to fill it up. So they are very hungry. Hence, they eat large amounts of food. But if you don't have enough workers, which is your spleen, the transformation will be very, very inefficient. The poor workers will not be able to keep up with the amount of parcels coming into the factory. Therefore, the poor workers are going to be overworked, and thus the nourishment will not be used. Hence, it cannot be delivered, cannot be turned into usable energy. Then what happens? The parcel stagnates, it sits there and it accumulates. So dampness rises. Fatigue develops because the workers are overworked. And weight increases because you have a lot of things in your storage. And your muscles remain weak. So literally the muscles of your workers, they are not leveling up, so they cannot keep up with the demand. On the other hand, some people have weak appetite and weak absorption. These people, they may forget to eat, feel full really quickly, struggle to gain muscle, or feel tired after meals. In these cases, the body simply cannot extract nourishment efficiently. So again, the issue isn't about how much you're eating. Sometimes the real question is your body transforming what you are giving it? And this is why two people can eat the exact same meal and end up with completely different outcomes. So after understanding all this, The question naturally becomes, so how do we support our spleen? How do we support our workers? And honestly, the answer is very simple. Food. If the spleen is the soil, food is everything. The best food is warm, cooked, gentle, and easy to digest. Cold, raw, greasy, heavy, and irregular eating weakens the spleen. Another thing is how you eat matters just as much as what you eat. So chew slowly. Try not to multitask as you are having a meal. The beautiful thing is, supporting the spleen doesn't need to be extreme. In fact, it responds better to consistency, not intensity. Support does not need to be complicated, just eat regularly, eat warmly, move daily, manage your stress, maintain routine, because small habits done consistently reshape your system over time. There are also a few acupressure points that can also help with improving your overall digestion and metabolism. And the first one is 足三里. It is located underneath your kneecap, 4-finger width below, and 1 thumb's width away from the shin bone. This point supports overall digestion and supports your qi. Next is Sun In Jiao. This one is for finger width above your inner ankle and behind the shin bone. This point supports nourishment and inner balance. Massage each point gently for 1 to 2 minutes, and remember, consistency matters more than intensity. If you're listening to this and thinking, this sounds like me, well, fantastic, because now you have more information, and I want you to choose one thing to change in your lifestyle today. Awareness changes the way you can care for yourself. Please remember, everything I share on this channel is just for educational purposes and is meant for you to understand your body better. This is not a substitute for professional diagnosis or treatment. So my darlings, you do not need to change everything overnight. You just need to understand what your body has been telling you. The kidneys give you potential, the liver gives you direction, and your spleen gives you ambition. Therefore, from your nature, you need to allow movement into your life. And after having movement into your life, it's very important to nourish it. Therefore, when your spleen is strong, your body does not struggle to function. It simply works. Healing is like tending a garden, and sometimes the most important step is to nourish the soil. Thank you for being here, and I'm truly grateful for all the messages and the stories that everybody has been sharing. I have received many comments asking about how to lose weight, how to gain weight. Hopefully this offered a better insight. So always look after your workers, improve on the factory conditions. I wish you all good health, and good health is the ultimate fortune and the only investment with endless return. And when do we start investing? Right now.